Welcome everybody to the WCA European Pro Qualifier. I'm Carlo and we are going to have some great games for you today. Over the next 2 days we have 8 teams that are going to try to reach the finals at Gamescom. And of course I'm not going to bring you all of this action alone. I have Tetcha with me and the two of us are going to lead you through the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, we have, like Carlo said, some incredibly exciting games, some really solid teams in this tournament, including a team that some of you may not be all familiar with. They have been invited and they will be playing in our first game today in the form of Evil Murkies.
Exactly, and the Evil Murkies, they were formerly known as Imaginary Gaming, but Imaginary Gaming, unfortunately, a few days ago, just all sent out that the organization itself would not continue to exist, so the team just renamed itself. They are the Evil Murkies now, and they have to go up against the probably strongest team that we have in the European scene right now in their first game.
Pretty tough first game if you are going into a professional tournament, and this is probably their biggest tournament to date, or their biggest qualifier to date.
Exactly, and the one thing that you have to realize about the tournament is now that our first games are going to be best of ones. So we have a group stage system here, and the first game is always going to be a best of one. Then later on, the 2 winners are going to face each other. And in the winners match, we have a best of 3 series. The winner of the winners match is, of course, going to advance to participate at the finals at Gamescom automatically, whereas the losers match is going to determine the second team that will have a shot that can go up against the loser of the winners bracket. Sounds a little bit complicated. If you guys want to see a bit more about the system, and if you want to find out more about how exactly that system works, then you can always go to WCAEurope.com and check that out. All the brackets are over there, and of course you're going to see the results there as well. Our first game is about to get ready. We have Team Liquid going up against the Evil Monkeys, and as we said already, it is a best of 1 here.
Yep, and do we know the hang on, we should know the map. No, we don't. We do not know the map yet, so we can not see that for the moment. But it's going to be, oh, we do know the map.
Sky Temple.
We're in the lobby, yes. It's going to be Sky Temple, and we already know this. Very interesting map for good turnarounds. It can get very snowbally, but if you win a really solid temple fight or a fight at the boss, then it's a map that you can easily get some good turnarounds on. And Liquid, a team that's very controlling in their play style, but like we said, Evil Murkies can definitely, if they win a fight at boss, for example, because it's Team Liquid, they're probably going to lose the early game.
Well, with Team Liquid, the one thing that you can say about Team Liquid is that they are definitely a menace in Europe right now. This team is so good. They won their 3rd DreamHack in a row. They are absolute dominant here. And of course, for the Evil Monkey, it's a bit unfortunate to face them already in the first round. But as soon as the teams are ready, we're going to jump into our first map here. So both of the teams, of course, have been able to prepare for this one. And Team Liquid, they definitely are the favorite going now into this game.
Yeah, not just the favorite for this match, probably the favorites to go through in the entire tournament, just due to incredibly solid gameplay from the weeks coming up to this. Like you said, they just won their 3rd DreamHack in a row, and that's an impressive feat. Like, they beat out Gamers 2 twice, and recently, at this most recent DreamHack, we did have Na'Vi finally come up to maybe challenge them, but Liquid just knocked them straight back down. The draft has now begun, and Evil Murkies gonna be able to get the first ban.
Exactly, and with the first ban, you oftentimes see a Jaina being banned out or a Kel'Thas. It's usually the second team that bans out the Zeratul. Zeratul is such a strong hero these days that you rarely see him go through the draft, but it depends also a bit on how the first team is going to ban here. So sometimes we even see the Zeratul banned out if team number 1 doesn't have a good Zeratul player in their midst and doesn't really want to pick Zeratul. So in this case, a Jaina would be very likely as a good ban, but there's a couple of good heroes that could be banned out as a first year.
Evil Murkies, though, are going to ban out the Zeratul first, leaving Liquid very open to what they want, basically. But yeah, Evil Murkies do get to pick up anything that Liquid leave out.
And that's exactly what I just said. Like, if you don't really have a player that can play a Zeratul, you don't want to pick Zeratul, and oftentimes you're going to end up banning him out first just because you don't want to risk your opponent to not take him. And against Team Liquid in particular, you don't want to give them Zeratul. Black Scorp is just too good on the hero. So for Team Liquid, this is already a very good start. They can now ban out what annoys them the most.
Yep, and we've spoken about Liquid a lot. A team of respected players. They have a couple players on the team who you have to respect ban against. Zeratul is one of those respect bans, like you said, for Black Scorp. Illidan, another hero that Black Scorp that you have to ban out, and that's already 2 heroes, and you only get 2 bans. Then you move on. You have Vortex, who you also need to respect ban, especially on this map. Both Abathur and the Lost Vikings are viable, both which heroes he is very enthusiastic about playing and are both ban-worthy.
They definitely have a couple of compositions that they can play here, and we've just seen in the recent past that Abathur is making a big comeback. He was always a hero that was picked, but just like the popularity of him in the last few weeks is absolutely incredible. And that's also one of the reasons why we are seeing the ban here immediately. Abathur banned out, so apparently they don't want to deal with the fact that Abathur can, for example, get that split push experience at the top lane while the shrine or the temple is active at the bottom. So this is already a very nice start into the draft. Not really what we expected here, not quite as traditional. We could see on the side of Imaginary Gaming now maybe a Jaina. Kel'Thas is being also first picked a lot. Most of the times you really see just one of the teams picking up the Ice Mage and the other one the Fire Mage.
Yeah, but on the odd occasion you will see, if they're not versed to insta-picking those mages, they will be picking up the Johanna first, but that's also quite a lot when you see Jaina ban, but that's an Illidan first pick. They know what they want. But Liquid already banning out the Abathur, almost as if they expected this.
You bring up the Johanna is actually a very interesting point. There are a couple of maps we will see always Johanna picked first or just banned out, as for example Tomb of the Spider Queen, where Johanna synergizes so well with an Azmodan that you kind of want to give yourself at least the opportunity to go down an Azmodan draft. On Sky Temple, we have seen Azmodan lately a bit more often, but Tomb of the Spider Queen is still like the map where you would expect them. In this case, right now, it's very likely that we're seeing Team Liquid with either Kel'Thas or Jaina that we already mentioned before, and I could definitely see them go into a tank together with that.
Yep, very possible. However, Liquid, one of the teams that don't 100% focus those two mages. Yep. They do also put very high priority on the Lost Vikings and also on the Zagaras and the Nazi Bows, those specialists, as opposed to those heavy damage mages, those damage over time harassment pushy mages who can still get the job done in the team fight. But like we said earlier, Vortex wasn't respect banned, and now there's a Viking on the field, and this map is amazing for soaking XP.
I'm still a bit surprised that they pick him first. I don't really think that with an Illidan first pick, you really have to pick that Lost Viking this early, but they want to play it safe here, and if you have that Lost Viking, then of course you will be able to just like soak experience on 3 lanes. Vortex is an amazing player that just has that background also to go for all that micro and macro management, and there is now Jaina, as kind of expected, as a damage dealer. She has very good control in the early game, and the one big advantage that she has over Kel'Thas is that she does not have to wait for that power spike on level 16 to really add a lot of value to the team.
Very true, but with the Abathur banned out, that's one of the better Jaina combos out the window, with the double Jainas doing huge damage. But like we said, we already have Lost Vikings, still gets the XP that a Abathur would get, and still very effective in the team fights with those longboat raids. Evil Murkies, all the supports have been left open at the moment, so they can get that wonderful Illidan Uther comp if they want to get that support into their possession very quickly, and then they have the opportunity to maybe ban one out for Team Liquid, whichever one they feel less comfortable playing against.
And we saw there's already the Rhaegar. I was just talking about a potential of them going into a double support, which we saw especially in the last patch quite a lot, especially by Team Liquid, by the way, who like to run an Illidan with a double support. The Uther, of course, is great with a burst heal. The one problem that you oftentimes have with Illidan is that in the later stages of the game, he's falling off a bit in terms of the heal numbers, but the utility that he brings to a team is just absolutely amazing.
Very, very true. So, Evil Murkies, see what they get. No warriors have been picked up yet, so they can get their first dibs on that as well. But it's a question of what they get. Like you said, there is very much potential for double support. Still the potential of Team Liquid doing it if they wanted to. 2 supports on top of this and a warrior just to get all that healing on that Jaina, basically, and keep her alive, while the Vikings just sit and do all the damage.
And with the Vikings in play, we could, for example, now see a Johanna being picked as the warrior. But Imaginary Gaming, they might come up with a very refreshing draft, I want to say, and try to just surprise Team Liquid here. They know that they are the underdog, so they might try and risk something. They already have a good support for Illidan, and what do they combo with this? They go for Muradin, which is also a nice counter pick, since Jaina or Johanna might be great if you're going up against the Vikings, because you have more targets that you can pull in with your Condemn. But at the same time, you don't really want to go up against Muradin's Reverberation build if you are running an Illidan. So in this case, they pick him away, and now we have the first ban on the side of Team Liquid.
Yeah, and the fact that they did pick this Muradin for their side, he is still an incredibly solid warrior. He's not just a one-trick Illidan counter. He's very solid at tanking, has some amazing CC. So picking him up, they're in a comfortable position. They've removed one of their main counters, and they still have a second ban for themselves now to remove something else for Team Liquid.
They could definitely think about banning out a Johanna. Evil Monkeys, that is in this case, just because that would really limit the chances of Team Liquid to get one of these very annoying frontliners. But Team Liquid, they have a huge variety of tanks that they can play. Lucifron is very good on that setup. The ban is a Tyrael, and I'm liking this quite a lot because we've seen a lot of Tyrael combinations together with an Illidan that can be very strong. We've even seen a few of those going into the hunt on Illidan to play together with the Judgment. And that is incredibly strong if you play it correctly. But even if you don't go for the hunt and you just use Metamorphosis, you have a very, very aggressive setup. And in this case right now, Team Liquid doesn't want to risk going up against this, so they take out Tyrael, and I'm liking this a lot.
Yep, it is very cool for them. However, that does once again limit Liquid's warrior options. And if I was Evil Murkies at the moment, I would absolutely ban out the Johanna for them, really limit their warrior options down to basically Arthas and Anubarak, so that they have a lot less choices in that field.
I completely agree here. Like a Johanna ban would be absolutely amazing for them now. Then again, you have to realize that the next two picks are also going to be on the side of Team Liquid, so there's a lot of potential damage that they could pick here. But the problem is no matter what you ban out, they will still have great options. There's still a Kel'Thas available, there's an Azebo available. We've been talking about Zagara, which gives you extra vision and control on Sky Temple too. So it's very tricky to ban out some kind of damage and try to hope that you are still getting some good range damage for yourself. So it's more likely that we're going to see a tank ban on the side of their opponent now.
Yeah, the tank ban, or the other option is going to be the support ban, as I was about to say. But Liquid, very fond of their Malfurion, but this does leave the Uther open to Team Liquid, and the potential Divine Shield on top of Jaina to basically let her do anything. She can dive onto that Illidan with Bolt at a later level, dive in and do huge amounts of damage, and that can really end a team fight before it even begins.
And this is a bit tricky. Malfurion is usually known for being a hero that deals with area damage, that deals really with opponents running a setup that have a lot of area damage with the Kel'Thas, with the Jaina. You can use your Tranquility in those team fights. And that is something that we don't see just yet from the Evil Monkey. So in this case, they're currently in a position where they ban out the Malfurion, but they don't run any area of effect damage. And they force the opponent kind of into an Uther here, or potential Uther, I should say, with at the same time, Uther giving them more stun against Illidan, also Divine Shield in case that somebody's getting sniped there. If they really want to make this work, they need to pick AoE damage with the next two picks, and they need to pick it fast. Malfurion right now is definitely putting Team Liquid a bit out of their comfort zone maybe, but this is... this could backfire.
Yeah, Team Liquid immediately picking up the Anubarak, not focusing down at Johanna. They still have the potential for that double warrior style that we usually see a little bit more from Na'Vi in Europe, but Liquid are very versatile and have been known to play pretty much every comp we have seen under the sun, and there is the Uther pick from them, getting their support out there just in case Evil Murkies did decide to go for that double support we were talking about earlier.
I actually think I just called them the Evil Monkeys, which would also, there would be a little bit more the Monkey Island like throwback. But yeah, the Evil Murkies, of course, so my apologies to them. But yeah, our Murkies here, they need some area of effect damage if they really want to make this Malfurion ban, they need to kind of make it worth something. There has to be a reason why you ban out the Malfurion, why you don't ban out anything else. For example, in this case, what would really not make any sense for them would to go for like a sniper comp, I want to say. Something that really tries to snipe a target, because then they banned out the wrong healer.
Yeah, so something lovely here would be the Kel'Thas. Yeah, huge area of effects damage. If you can get that Living Bomb from the Ignite Hand at the later levels, Malfurion with Life Seed and with Tranquility heals up the entire team.
Also,
don't have that.
Nazebo, Kel'Thas, like Zagara, these mages that we still have, this is something that they should definitely consider at least now. And there's a Zagara. Great control already on the maps. Thanks to the creep tumors, you get a lot of vision. You have the Maw available in those fights on the temples, which is very important too. But they still need a bit more than that. And I could, with this, definitely see a Kel'Thas being played here. A Maw as a setup for a Phoenix and also a Flame Strike can be quite successful. The problem that you have with the Kel'Thas is, of course, that he just starts to really get strong after level 16.
Very true. And Team Liquid may not even let you get to that, or with those Lost Vikings could get to level 16 so far before you do, or they may even be at level 20 before they have the chance.
All right, so right now we have the second ban coming in right now, and let's see. They go for a Tassadar. Wow, that is a very ballsy pick, I want to say.
Very old-fashioned. Going for the Rhaegar Tassadar Illidan
What is this,
very
NA?
old-fashioned.
Okay.
But yeah, just extra protection on that Illidan. And it's a little bit of extra damage, some AoE. Like we said, not Kael'thas AoE, but it's damage.
Yeah, this is very much out of the textbook from the North American scene these days, where Tassadar is valued a lot more than on Europe right now. He's one of those, I want to say, one of those vanilla picks. You know, he's a pick that is always kind of good, but it's never really the pick that where, like, he always fits in. He's just one of these things that you can always use. But it's a very interesting thing to see that right now. So we have a Sylvanas being counterpicked. But in this case right now, with the Tassadar that they have just taken, the one problem that they're going to run into is that damage is lacking on the lineup just a bit. They really need to rely on on Muradin to do a lot of damage. They have, of course, the Archon in those team fights as the Auric ability on Tassadar and also the Storm. All of that adds up over time. But they don't really have that really bursty damage on a Kael'thas or maybe even with a Nazebo. And as you could see there at the end, we had on Team Liquid the counter pick going straight into that Sylvanas to really help them also with the potential silence, and which has a lot of mobility and of course also pushing power. And we will probably see a battle between Zagara and Sylvanas. What do you think?
I think you're 100% right. Zagara and Sylvanas, both of them probably in the same lane, and Zagara does win that lane in terms of dueling, but Sylvanas, incredible pushing power, and she can hold a lane a lot better than Zagara can. And if she has help in that lane, which Liquid can do, they can throw a Viking down there or throw Vikings into other lanes and get a very hard pushing comp with that Sylvanas. That's going to be a big problem for Imaginary because they've not got that kind of comp.
I'm very interested to see how the Evil Murkies are now going to run this, because I feel damage is going to be a bit of an issue for them. They have some single target damage with the Zagara here, but they rely heavily on Illidan doing something in these fights, and with Uther being on the other side, with a lot of stuns being available here, it could become a very, very tricky team fight for the Evil Murkies jumping into this. So maybe not quite the draft that they were hoping for here. The Tassadar is, in my opinion, always a bit of a more passive approach.
Yeah.
They could have gone into something more aggressive with additional damage, but they have additional sustain now with this. The risk here is always that you start to fall behind in experience because your opponent is triple soaking lanes while temples are up and gets far ahead. You already mentioned this earlier, Tetcha. If they get that level 16 faster, then Evil Murkies might be in a big trouble. Yeah,
and Evil Murkies running the Zagara with that Devouring Maw. And that's interesting because it is fight controlling, but a lot of the times you want to set up a wombo combo. You'll run it with a Kael'thas, with a Jaina, anyone who can do that burst damage.
Yeah.
Psystorm, not so much. It's not that kind of damage that you can do. Metamorphosis has been nerfed in terms of damage. Yeah. They have no wombo for after that Maw ends.
I have not really found myself in a situation where Zagara Maws me. The Tassadar appears on the scene like, oh my god, the storm is going to take me down.
There's a storm coming.
They have a lot of sustain, of course, on that lineup, and we have to find out what exactly is going to happen here. If that sustain is all that they need to really keep Illidan alive in those fights. Once that the teams are ready, we're of course going to jump into that game immediately. Currently, they're just picking their heroes, but definitely a very interesting setup that we're seeing there. And it's also pretty cool that we see Sylvanas again. For the longest time, Sylvanas was a first pick or even a ban on most maps, but in the last, I want to say like 2 to 3 weeks, you don't see Sylvanas all that often anymore. She's moving farther down the draft, and a lot of the teams have said that they don't really think that Sylvanas is pick-worthy again, which is actually interesting, but she offers burst, and considering how tanky that lineup can be that we're seeing for the Evil Murkies, having that level 16 talent with a Cold Embrace for the extra damage, that might be exactly what they are looking for here.
Quite possibly, and also having a look at the Evil Murkies lineup, you can see just how, like you said, tanky, but also just the amount of escapes, how difficult it is going to be for Liquid to kill any of them. Team Liquid, their lockdowns include Uther stun, the Anubarak stuns, later game with the Root and her current slows. But Evil Murkies, Tassadar, Dimensional Shift, potential full Dimensional Shift build. We have the Muradin with the Avatar and the extra tankiness, and Rhaegar, Wolf Form, healing, and Illidan with the dive. The only person they can officially lock down without any kind of escape is Zagara, who's their main damage. Exactly. She needs to play so far back to be safe.
And that is going to be a big problem because Zagara, well, she is a bit squishy. She can, of course, pick up something like a spell shield level 13, but you don't really want to do that. You only do it when you're really forced into it. And besides that, she only gets her escape at level 20 when she has the opportunity to go into Blink.
Yeah. Unless she goes like full creep and just runs away the entire time.
As we are going into our first map, though, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump into Sky Temple in just a second. But once again, we have currently a best of one still in the game here. And, well, let's introduce our players right now. We have to the left side of the map, it is Team Liquid with Black Scorp on Sylvanas, Vortex playing the Lost Vikings again, Falcon on Jaina, Grampakete on Uther. We have Lucifron on Enuburak. And starting to the right side of the map, it is their opponent. Formerly Imaginary Gaming, now they are known as the Evil Murkies. It is Q on Tacita. We have Lizfog on Zagara, Narcisse on Rhaegar. And it looks like we're having a couple... Okay, Narcisse came back.
Joined. It's fine.
Tic Tac on Murden and Arcane on Illidan. So, interesting lineups for both of the teams, and this is a best of one. We are going to continue in the winners match and the losers match in this group with best of threes, but our first matches are going to be best of one. So everything is on the line here already. You're not quite out of the group just yet if you lose here, but you will drop down to the losers match, and this is of course something that they want to avoid. I'm of course not alone. I'm Carlo, with me is Tetcher, and we're going to bring you the coverage here at the WCA European Pro Qualifier.
Very much so. And having a look at the lane setups, we already have something very different. Team Liquid putting a huge amount of focus on that bottom lane, which is something we don't normally see. Usually it's going to be top lane or mid lane because that's where the two first temples spawn.
What I really like about it, though, is they're trying to set it up as a bit of a surprise, and Lizfog was the only hero at the bot lane, but the rotation is just so fast. We have Q and Narcisse moving down here immediately to make sure that they are able to just deal with this, and they are holding the line here. It's really interesting, by the way, to see that we have Bribe taken on the level 1 talent for the Vikings, the Viking Bribery. This is pretty cool if you really want to get up those extra stacks, and you can actually in this situation also just like move in and make sure that you get just enough stacks so that you can even bribe more camps, and which is actually pretty easy in this case. So yeah, Vortex apparently with a bit of a problem that he has here.
Yeah, we have a little bit of a pause. Hopefully we can sort that issue out as soon as possible. But like you said, the bribe, it's been what Vortex has been taking ever since he's been going back to that Viking style. But it is still a very good talent because it requires more stacks than most other bribes that you get on other heroes. But it's the fact that you can soak it in multiple lanes, which is just a specialized bribe for those Vikings. Sylvanas going with the wind talent, so she has that extra range on her Withering Fire. Just helps when you get the Evasive Fire in the later game. You can kite a lot easier.
The cool thing about the Vikings here is that just there have been a couple of Vikings placed just in the last few weeks. And the interesting thing about it is that so many different approaches to the heroes have been seen now. Sometimes a bit of a focus on Balok, who on level 1 has good area damage. Then we oftentimes see also Eric being put to some use. That new Sabotage talent that he has here can be really dangerous if he is alone on a lane and can really go down against these structures. So it's interesting to see how the teams are currently experimenting with the Vikings a little bit more. But of course, Vortex is an absolute master on this heroes, and it's going to be great to see what kind of Vikings build he is playing here. Again, we already see him use the hero at DreamHack, but it's going to be pretty cool to see him in action on one of his best heroes once more.
Yeah, but it looks like both teams are ready, so we're going to be heading back into the game right now. And having a look at some of the other talents, we have Uther. The only really variation we see on him at level 1 is sometimes we see a couple teams taking the reach nowadays when you have, say, an Illidan on your team, so that he can dive a bit deeper and you can heal him from further away, which is still pretty nice. Other than that, the slow on the Jaina and the Spirit Walker's Grace coming in from the Rhaegar.
Lucifron is in this case going for the Beetle build, and it's actually super interesting to see that, since most of the Enuburak players that we have these days are not really going for a full Beetle build anymore. Regeneration Master on level 1 is extremely popular after the recent patch, and also another talent that we oftentimes see is just the range on the Impale. But with an Murden in the opponent's team, I think he wants to make sure that those Storm Balls have a lot of trouble really hitting heroes here. The Temples are active, of course, now, and we'll see which team is going to be able to soak the most shots.
Yep, and right now, top Temple going in favor of the Evil Murkies. Mid Temple still under the control of Team Liquid. There is a single Viking, though, as we just saw in that bot lane, soaking up against Tastar just to get that XP. And as we can see, if you look at the top of your screen, Liquid creeping slowly ahead. They're trying to raid the top temple a bit, taking quite a bit of damage. Black Scorp being pushed back, but Tic Tac getting really harassed. It gets healed by Rhaegar, though, but he is still slowed by Jaina, and Jaina continuing to dive in here. There is a nice dive from Sylvanas. There's the Envenom, and down goes that Muradin. Illidan, though, coming in from behind Lucifron with the Borrowed Charge, but we're going to see Black Scorp go down on that Sylvanas. Illidan coming in and doing what he does, and that's clean up.
And Lucifer just barely getting away there. So Nubarak in this case, he was about to die and just is barely able to get out of harm's way here. We still have, of course, Vortex soaking the lanes, and that's one of the main reasons why they're currently still able to be at the same experience level. So a very nice start by the Evil Murkies here. They're doing well. We have now on level 4 Eric the Swift taken, the talent that we've also talked about a bit earlier today. And another hero being killed. Olaf has a bit of trouble here in the mid lane, but at the same time Falcon is moving in together with Blackscorp, trying to get a kill against Tic Tac.
Nice jump by Tic Tac getting over the wall. Vortex on the Baylog has taken a little bit of damage. Eric is pushed pretty far back, but these creep tumors very well placed to spot the Vikings hiding in bushes when they're trying to soak XP, so Vortex has to be on point at every moment to try and keep his Vikings alive.
The Vikings, of course, were reworked in the last patch a lot, so that standard build that you oftentimes saw is not taken anymore. We have also now the interesting talent on the side of Uther. It's actually a lot more popular these days than it was before. The protective shield is not taken, but instead we have the boundless conviction. I personally like that a lot, and especially when you're playing with the Vikings, it's just a great talent to have.
Yeah, it allows you to hit a lot more members. For those who don't know, it increases the width and length. Nubarak's fine. The width and length of your Holy Radiance by a nice 40%. So like Kato said, great for hitting all those Vikings in a row when they are in front of you.
What I really like about the setup that the Evil Murkies are currently running is that they have so much vision on the map, not only with Oracle, but they even take Mental Acuity on level 4 to make sure that he has an even further reduced cooldown on the talent, which is absolutely amazing. You already talked a bit about the creep tumors that we're seeing from Zagara. So the vision on the map is amazing for the Evil Murkies. Team Liquid has to be careful with this.
Blackscorp, Hunter Killer is down on him. We're seeing Lisfok come to the other side. Blackscorp with the haunting wave over the wall. Is it going to be enough? Yes, it is. Gets over Storm onto the No Man's Land to try and catch him as he was flying past, but not enough there. We also have the Ice Lance coming in from Jaina. Reduce the cooldown of Frostbolt by 2 seconds if it hits a chilled target over the Frostbitten.
It's actually interesting to see that a bit more often these days. Like just the last weekend, we had a couple of tournaments here on the European server, and it was taken there as well.
That's a bit brave.
Already there comes Muradin in, gets immediately a Stormbolt or a stun, and there we have the Blizzard coming in as Blackscorp is still in the back, trying to heal himself up again, but the Temple is still active, and so far it's the Evil Murkies that are getting most of the shots in. Yeah,
and there's not much they can do about this, because right now Liquid are taking every fight as a 4 versus 5. But in the meantime, they are level 9 to level 8. It's soon to be level 9 by the Evil Murkies. And they're actually pushing a forward here. Illidan coming to stop that, and Eric still soaking top.
And with Illidan moving up to the mid lane and trying to stop those two Vikings, of course, at the bot lane, we only have 4 heroes. Lucifer is once again in the middle of things, but has to move out. Yara Kanon is Illidan is thinking about jumping in. Narcisse is still there, trying to heal everybody out, but Team Liquid is just buying themselves some time as Falcon is getting taken out by an opponent.
And we're going to see Lucifer go down as well. Tic Tac with the nice body block. Illidan diving very deep, trying to get Blackscorp, but under the fort. There's no way they want to dive that deep, so they're just going to back out. And they have most of the temple. They're going to be able to grab the rest of it. Liquid still just hanging around this lane in case the push continues, but they're going to have to go back.
And Liquid has level 10 now, but there's also the heroic ability now coming into play for their opponents. And we see them spread out immediately after taking down 1-2 heroes on the opponent's team because they know they have the temple safe. They start to rotate over to the mid lane, to the top lane to get the experience and make sure that the Vikings don't bring Team Liquid too far ahead in experience.
Yeah, and we're seeing Eric having to retreat in the top lane, so he's not going to miss out on that much XP as the minion wave was pretty much eliminated already. But he is now in a more safe position. Heroic-wise, pretty much everything is standard. Web Blast, the Wailing Arrow. There's nothing too out of the ordinary. Falcon taking a lot of damage. This Illidan going very aggressive with Water Elemental. That will slow him enough to prevent any more chase. Tic Tac's dive very deep. Has to pop Avatar to keep himself alive here. Gets knocked up. There is the silence and the more, though, to try and give Tic Tac's time to escape. There's the Envenom and the Water Elemental. Down he goes. And the Web Blast looks like we're going to see Liquid continue this chase. Illidan will dash out, but that Web Blast is about to come out. And whoever's inside, it is going to be Lisfok. And down he goes. And Liquid turning that nice engage into a very quick turnaround.
Immediately taking 2 targets down here. Team Liquid in a great position now. In experience, they're only a bit ahead, but there's more waves coming in now at the top lane that Eric is currently soaking. And of course, in that fight, we saw especially when they were trying to go for Falcon, an immediate water elemental as a reaction. But now as the boss is taken, we have the few remaining heroes on the side of the Evil Murkies trying to contest it. This could backfire really fast. I don't think they can commit to this one, but it looks like they might. They're moving in with Tassadar already. He goes straight to the point, but already we have the boss taken by Team Liquid. And immediately the bot is moving in, trying to take it down, but to the left side, Rhaegar is down as Q is getting eliminated as well. 2-4-0 and the boss taken to the worst time to lose 2 members of your team.
Yep, they tried to go in there, but Tastar, the only one who could make it into the circle, immediately has a dimensional shift out. Liquid grabbed that, and then the Tornado holding Rhaegar in the boss area as he got completely wiped, and this bottom 4 is doomed.
They gotta be too greedy there. If they move back, then they will still be up against the boss and probably lose the bottom 4 tier. But in this case now, they have no chance defending it. They have to try to soak experience up at the top, and Illidan is now aiming for that temple that is currently up, whereas TikTok in the mid lane is trying to soak experience. They're down a talent. They are behind an entire level, and of course they need to somehow make up for that, and it's definitely not going to be easy.
It is not going to be easy indeed. Most of the team still defending that bottom boss. They will be able to clear that up, but Grand Paqueta and Falcon are still here, so they're not even missing out on XP for this, and they are getting bot temple, top temple, under a bit of contention, but now Vortex is here with Eric. It is Sylvanas and Eric versus Illidan. He dives to a minion, and will be able to get out, but takes quite a bit of harassment. Black's thinking about diving, but didn't have his Shadow Dagger up, so cannot dive the building.
At the bot lane, on the other hand, we have once again Falcon moving away, and he gets stunned here. And immediately Muradin is moving into takedown. Jaina, it looks like he's going to succeed, and at the same time, of course, Paqueta is also trying to get away, but another stun is locking him down in place. And just like that, we have the evil Murkies with a double kill. Lucifer, he needs to go for the burrow charge. He uses it, but he's already
stuck in the wall.
He's going straight for him. Where's that stun? TikTok not hitting it or hitting a beetle, and he gets away after all.
Wow, that looked really bad there when he got stuck in that wall. But for now, Liquid still just doing so much on the map. They've been able to take most of the shots from both temples, and these giants here, most of them were stolen by Vikings earlier on with that Viking bribery, or at least the ones on the side of evil Murkies were.
Yeah, and as you can see right now, just when we are looking at the damage itself, we have currently 15,000, 14,000 on Sylvanas and Jaina, 17,000 for Zagara. She's really doing quite a lot of work, but especially the experience is of course quite interesting, as we're currently seeing 15,000 experience soaked by the Vikings compared to the 5,000 or 4,000 that we're seeing on the rest of the team.
That is pretty incredible, and that is the advantage that the Vikings give you. This is not the biggest lead. We've seen Liquid able to gather, and Evil Merc's been very on point with getting XP and making sure that they've only stayed a level behind, as opposed to the 3 levels behind that we've seen Liquid gather in some other games.
The big problem is really not even the team fights. We have 5 kills against 5.25. The problem is really the soaking of the Vikings. They have been missing in a lot of these battles, and so far Team Liquid is doing, of course, incredibly well with them rotating throughout the map, getting the mercenary camps, getting the boss, going for the shrines. It's just really what gave them this lead, and they will hit level 16 just in a second, and they can turn around and fight again with a talent advantage. Yeah,
and we're seeing Evil Murkies back up away from this because they saw the other 2 Vikings had roamed up, so that meant that everyone from Liquid was there and all heroics were available. So there wasn't much they could do.
Down to the bot lane, we're currently seeing Vortex again trying to soak the experience. The rest of the team is slowly starting to rotate towards the mid lane, and there's still a split for their opponents. And the reason is quite simple. With that extra level 16 talent that we're seeing for the Spaniards, there is no way that the evil Murkies can really fight. They cannot go for one of these temples until they have their next talent. So they need to try and soak 2 lanes at least. Tacita even moving down to the bot lane to soak this one. And the Murkies are just desperate to hit that next level and finally claim their level 16 talent.
Yeah, and they need that to fight. They do catch out Anubrak a bit, but he's completely fine with his shield, and his Beatles is just going to be able to walk away from that with no troubles at all. Liquid getting ready to roam up to that top lane as the temple will be spawning in 2 seconds. Evil Murkies going to be grabbing their easy camp first.
Yeah, and right now we see actually Uther doing such a great job in this game. I'm still not quite sure if the ban on Malfurion was the best choice here, because one of the things that they definitely struggled with was that they have an Uther against them who is able to just stun them out. He has the Shrink Ray, he has also Benediction right now, and the only thing that Evil Murkies were trying to do so far was burst down single targets, especially with the Muradin trying to follow them, but that's exactly where Uther excels.
That is a give him the axe coming out of the Muradin. We don't see that one quite a bit often. 75% more damage. It's basically his version of Executioner against slowed or disabled targets.
The problem that they really have here is that he doesn't have too much synergy with the rest of the team for this one.
Yeah, he's the only one who's actually putting out those stuns or so, other than Rhaegar with his Earthcraft Totem. There's a huge engagement up in this top lane, and, well, That, given the axe is not helping him here. There's the Ancestral, though. That will keep him alive, but that means it's not there for Illidan. He has to pop out his Metamorphosis, but everyone moves out the way, so he doesn't get the healing, and down he goes. Web Blast has been used on the backline. We're going to see Tastar having to dimensional shift away, but that Longbow Raid does so much damage. And we're seeing Evil Murkies in full retreat. Nice more, though, and the Vikings are out of it. They're continuing to chase, along with Blackscorp, trying to get the Muradin here. Muradin turns onto Blackscorp, but he needs to continue retreating. We're going to see Zagara go down to the Vikings here. Everyone else from Evil Murkies, though, looks like they're going to get out.
Yeah, they're all getting out, and now we have with the 2-level lead, suddenly Team Liquid moving in towards another keep. They're trying to take this one out, and up at the top lane, I don't think they're going to have a problem at all, since the Black Arrow trade, of course, is going to disable it once again. But a very nice fight here. We have, of course, on the side of the Murkies with the Talons on 13 and 16 for Rega, really nice heal during these battles. But the problem still is that they just can't really kill anything. Muradin, with that talent that you already mentioned earlier, he couldn't do anything in that fight. He had to move out immediately, couldn't really have any kind of self-sustain, even with Avatar, but without Stone Form, there was just nothing that he could do there, and Illidan didn't have any support all of a sudden, being in the middle of the opponent's team.
Yeah, you were saying exactly right. That Ancestral healing coming from the Rhaegar had to be used on the Muradin, because he was in the middle of that fight and didn't take the Stone Form because he wanted the more damage. And instead, Liquid were like, no, and just turned and focused him down, and he had to take that Ancestral to keep himself alive, and instead, they lost their Illidan, because there was no extra support for him.
Rhaegar on only 20,000 heal here. Can really tell that this game so far hasn't really been going his way. Not able to get too many of those Ancestrals in, and also, of course, that chain heal that we are seeing on his end. Even Uther is now at 22,000 heal, and he is just offering so much more to this fight. We've been talking about giving the axe a bit, and you already mentioned the totem. The interesting thing is, like, if they were planning to go for giving the axe from the start, he should have maybe even thought about taking the Colossal Totem on level 1, which he just didn't do.
He's spamming his heals in the fights, but the fights are so short, and he's taken Shadow Wolf as opposed to the mana. He could have easily just taken the bigger totem and then Feral Heart to get the mana that he's not getting from Spirit Walker's Grace, and helped out with that a lot more.
Yeah, it might have been one of those decisions where they just said, like, listen guys, we need more damage, we need something here, and then they just decided on Muradin going for giving the axe and trying to give them a bit more. He already went on Burning Rage on level 13, so he is dishing out a lot more than he usually does. Temple now taken up in the mid lane by the Evil Murkies. Down to the bot lane on the other hand, we are once again seeing Team Liquid in full control. Here comes again Tic-Tac, stuns the wall. That didn't do anything. And we're seeing the top lane pushing as Team Liquid hits level 20.
Yeah, top lane with a Bruiser Camp in it, like you said, is pushing. They're able to take down the bottom keep with the help, and they're managing to raid this mid keep, this mid temple for now. Illidan gets Ancestral. He's going on to Blackscorp for now. There is the more onto Jada, and the Web Blast has been used. Longbow Raid will take down the Zagara in the backline. Illidan still continuing to try and take down anyone. There's the nice chain stuns though, and he will go down. Tic-Tac also going to get taken now, and Liquid take this fight in a 2 for 5, and they're going to push in mid, the last mid to keep. They can easily just go for the core. There you go. Going to ignore mid and just walk straight over and go for the end.
Monster kill. Take down the entire team here, and now they just march through the core. And they are going to take this one. So the GG already called. This is a best of 1, ladies and gentlemen. Our winners and losers match will be best of 3 series. But this is, of course, as you can see, the first game ending here. On Sky Temple, Team Liquid, they take it, they move on to the winners match, whereas we have the Evil Murkies dropping down to the losers match here. Great play by Team Liquid. And very solid performance here, of course, in our first game at the WCA EU Pro Qualifier.
Yeah, and what do you do against that kind of soak from Liquid? To be fair, Evil Murkies have handled it a lot better than we've seen a lot of teams handle that kind of split XP getting from Team Liquid. But Team Liquid just crept ahead by the end of that game, only 2 levels ahead, but that's still a level 20 before the enemy team was at level 18. So it's just not enough. They got redemption in that fight, and suddenly Ufa was back, so they technically traded 1 for 5.
There was just not enough synergy on the team that we saw there. There was not enough lockdown, not enough stun, so it was really tricky for Imaginary Gaming, or for ex-Imaginary Gaming, for the Evil Murkies, to make anything happen in this game now in particular. And you could really tell that the experience soak that you already mentioned a bit earlier was their biggest problem here. In fights at the beginning, they didn't really do too bad. They were always in a position where they got on even kills with their opponents. It was just really that experience soaking on Vortex that gave them the most trouble. And of course, going for the boss, trying to contest that with 3 heroes might have been a bit too greedy. They lost more heroes in that situation, and then all of a sudden they had 2 people dead, and then again the boss still barreling down that bot lane, and that was just too much.
Yeah, and then they weren't able to deal with the top temple. There's just nothing they could do. And just having a look at the endgame stats here, it shows up as 0, but Vortex, he lost 1 Viking that entire game. He is just a god on that hero.
Well, guys, this concludes the first match, of course, for us. We are going to jump into the second one after just a short break. We have Gamers 2 going up against Alternate Fancy. After that, we are still having 3 more best of 3s for you. So, guys, after a quick break, we'll be back with the second game, the second best of 1 here at the WCA EU Pro Qualifier. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a bit.